Today we stand together not only to mourn his loss, but to reaffirm our collective commitment to seeking justice for Preston.
This morning, we're spotlighting some brand new information in the case of an Arizona teenager who was beaten to death, possibly as part of gang activity. His name is Preston Lord. And a newly released 1,100-page police report details eyewitness accounts and social media evidence of how the so-called Gilbert Goons admitted to killing Preston Lord. Now, that report included 911 calls where neighbors warned police that with hundreds of kids and chaos, somebody could get killed.
I've never, in the 25 years that I've been in Queen Creek, ever seen this many vehicles and this many problems, not even on Halloween.
Now, according to police, 16-year-old Preston Lord was jumped at a Halloween party last year and died from his injuries 2 days later. He was apparently targeted after a friend's necklace was stolen. Now, there are 7 suspects in this case. They have all been charged as adults. They're facing murder charges and kidnapping charges, and their ages range from 17 to 20. Let's talk about this. I have 2 great guests standing by. Still with me, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, who practiced in Arizona for many years. And also I have with me, I'm going to welcome onto the show this hour, board-certified forensic pathologist, Dr. Priya Banerjee. Wonderful to have you both here to discuss this. This is just heartbreaking. And I know it's gotten a lot of talk in Arizona because it's something that happened in the fall, but now the case is really kind of, it's picking up steam. And now with these latest bits of information just coming out in the police report, there are a lot of people who are very angered by what's coming out. I want to share with you some of it now. One of these defendants, he is 19 years old. His name is Talon Renner. He bragged about a closed casket funeral and bragged about being too strong. This is apparently from his Snapchat. Investigators took a look at this. Dr. Banerjee, to you on this point, please. Is it possible that these young men really didn't, maybe weren't able to properly estimate the strength? When I read this from this Talon Renner, you know, it makes you want, he's saying, I accidentally killed a kid. I got in a fight, I accidentally killed a kid. I guess I'm just too strong. You know, we could read that a couple of ways, but maybe the best way to ask it, Doctor, how much strength does it take to kill someone in a beating?
Well, you have multiple kids involved, and I call them kids, but honestly, they're grown men, right? Some of them are 18, 19. These are all healthy young men who have strength. And so I think to say it's an accident, they may not have meant to, and this is where the legal part comes in, which is beyond me. But, you know, once you have strong punches or even stomps, I've heard some mention of that potentially, I think that's where it's really dangerous. And you have multiple people on one child being beaten. That's when you have this kind of outcome. It's deadly.
Yeah, this is just so sad. There's the victim. There's Preston Lord, 16 years old. That sweet child was. I've got a clip from his stepmother talking about the accountability that they're seeking with this prosecution. Let's take a look together.
We seek not vengeance, but accountability. We demand that those responsible for his untimely departure are brought before the law to answer for their actions. As we move forward, let us carry Preston's memory as a torchlight, guiding us towards the future where justice prevails, not just in words, but in action.
Oh, boy. Kirk Nurmi, I want to talk to you about one of the other defendants here. Apparently, there's a witness said that this young man named Preston Billy showed up at the party looking very scared, a different party, not the original Halloween party. And he allegedly said that he was the last one to kick Preston when he was on the ground. And so being the last one to hit him, we know what happened then 2 days later. Tristan is 18 years old. Kirk, what does this make you think about him, kind of contrasted with what we heard from Talon Renner, you know, who's talking about, I'm just too strong. This guy, does he seem a little more remorseful to you?
It does, but, you know, there's a lot of chaos going on here, as you mentioned. And, you know, the one thing I think that really is going to be incumbent on prosecutors, and I have a lot of confidence in the Maricopa County prosecutors. I'm a big fan of Rachel Mitchell, is that they're going to get convictions out of this chaos. But they're going to have to find a way in order to do that, because there is so much going on here, right? And it's whether one of those goons, if you will, is going to be more remorseful. One of those goons is going to want to turn. So will their evidence, will their testimony be consistent with the medical evidence? Can they add, you know, anything that helps convictions come out of this chaos? That's really going to be the point of fact here, because there's going to be video evidence. There's going to be lots of testimony. We know that eyewitness testimony can be somewhat unreliable, but here you have someone who is right kind of down in the end of things, and maybe he can get to the point, he can explain what happened, and that's where the convictions are going to come, and that's where justice is going to come for this young victim.
Great point, Kirk. You know, this young man has his whole life ahead of him. Dr. Priya Banerjee, I want to go back to you on an important point. When we think about how this child suffered, would you share with us your opinions in how much pain he must have experienced throughout the course of this beating, and then in the aftermath when he was fighting for his life in the hospital?
You know, I'm hoping that you talk about legally conscious pain and suffering, so you have to have that consciousness. And I'm hoping that at least the mother and me and the pathologist, that maybe the first, let's say, few strikes to the head, I'm hoping he lost consciousness, you know, and that I understand it was very dynamic, but I'm hoping that early on he loses consciousness and honestly couldn't fight back. And that would mean, yes, he sustained the injuries, but he would have felt a lot less.
Well, you know, that's somewhat reassuring to hear that, really, Dr. Banerjee. And hopefully once he was at the hospital, he would have been medicated, you know, as you said, and wouldn't be, you know, feeling the enormous pain, I'm sure, that was inflicted upon this young man. Kirk, I have a clip here. Some of the community members reacting to this case. Let's take a look.
First degree.
We fought for this publicly, and I'm just going to say...
We're coming for the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're all going to pay for what you did to Preston.
Yes, yep,
and
there's
to our
more.
community.
So that was a celebratory moment we saw there, Kirk, as we know it's been a while, you know, since this incident occurred and when the murder charges were filed. So many people gathered together to celebrate this. And I know that there is a witness who has been speaking with police. This has come out in the brand new report, that these Gilbert Goons have a reputation for fighting. That's what they do. They're known for fighting around the area. And you and I have talked previously on this program. You know, you live in somewhat close proximity in this area in Arizona. You've done countless criminal cases and have never heard of this gang per se, but as we've talked about, this can still be a very violent, dangerous gang, even if they aren't nationally recognized like the Bloods or the Crips. Kirk, how do you think this gang member identification could affect these guys as defendants as they head to criminal court?
Well, if the prosecution can show that they do have these gang ties, they're going to need to show the contacts, they're going to need to show a criminal history, they're going to need to show a pattern, right? If they can do that, if they can insert that into the trial, that is certainly going to help explain their modus operandi and what they were doing and what their intentions were, which of course intent is a key element of first-degree murder, right? So that's gonna be a big key. And ultimately, what those gang enhancements can do, that's what we call them in Arizona, can lengthen any particular sentence given to anyone. So if it's an ag assault, dangerous, what have you, depending on the co-defendant, I know there's first-degree murder charges. Each defendant is going to have different charges. So ultimately, if they can prove that, they're certainly going to secure longer prison terms for a lot of these defendants.